Men of little words, but of course they are warriors, and we look forward to Saturday when these two fighters will get into the ring and knock each other out. Or will it be determined by a unanimous decision? Only time will tell. A couple of hours from now, we'll get to see that big matchup between Oleksandr Usyk and, of course, Tyson Fury. And just early today, we heard that Anthony Joshua has made a prediction on who will win that fight. But of course, we've got Rakeem Noble, a boxing trainer all the way from the UK, joining us to talk about this. And I don't know, is just smart money on Usyk or Fury? Because for me, I think Usyk will win this one. But welcome to the show, Rakeem.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm very
Um,
well.
I going into this fight, yeah, I think after the last fight, the momentum's with Usyk. Tyson Fury is now the challenger. He's been beaten before by the same man less than a year ago. Usyk looked strong, looked technical. He done all the things that he needed to do. He even almost had Tyson Fury out of there in round nine with that big 10-8 round where Fury was close to hitting the ground. And from the last fight, there isn't anything that I can take to say that the fight's going to go any different, really. Of course, Tyson Fury, he is 6'9". He looks like he's putting a bit more weight for this fight. He's been in there with 12 rounds of Usyk. All those things come into play with the more experience, but I just don't see Tyson Fury doing anything to upset Usyk. Like we saw in that face-to-face, 11 minutes, getting quite intense there. Neither man was going to fold. And straight after that, Tyson Fury went back to the same tactics he used before the first fight, where he just calling Usyk a rabbit, gap tooth. You're getting it. You're a middleweight. He went back to all of the old slanders. So maybe a repeat of the fight. That's how Tyson Fury approached it in the first fight, and look how it ended. Is how he's approached it in the second fight. I think he could potentially end the same way. When he runs out of his 8-1 game plan, he's just going to go back to what he normally does.
Right, and for Usyk, well experienced the boxer, I must say. But of course, we know the kind of tactics Fury brings to the boxing ring. And that stare down, what do you make of that? 11 minutes of no talks until Tyson Fury became Tyson Fury and started taunting Usyk.
Normally, in those cases, they'll have a stare off for about a minute, and then the security will break it up. But I think in this one, they just let it hang out for as long as it possibly could, just to see how long they would. It's a big fight, massive moment and occasion, um, and they just let them go. I think a lot of fights, really and truly, if you just left both fighters at it, they'd probably stay there for 10, 20 minutes, maybe even half an hour. As I said, in this case, they just didn't stop them. Um, but like always, all fighters want to get that edge. All fighters want to be the last one to turn away. They want to see their opponent turn their head first, and that doesn't change any dynamic of any fight. Like I said, it always happens. And Tyson Fury, like I said, he couldn't win the stare off, he couldn't win the face off. So he went back to the tactics of just trying to get inside Usyk's head. But I think from the first fight and from how long the first fight took to happen, there was a whole year of Tyson Fury calling Usyk names. So I think Usyk's heard pretty much every name in the book. So I don't think Usyk's going to be right shriveled by that at all. You know, he's heard it all before. So I do think it has just a bit more edge to it. It shows that there's probably a bit more intent. You know, both fighters have been there. Fury's suffered defeat. Fury's probably bitter, angry. He wants his revenge back, and he's going to try and get it on Saturday night.
All right, let's talk about Saudi Arabia. They seem to be doing something huge in the world of sports, not just boxing now. There's also football. There are also talks about the Formula One. What exactly is going right for Saudi Arabia and them hosting, rather wanting to take over hosting sporting events?
Well, I think it's no secret why the success of sport in Saudi Arabia is the unlimited supply of money, the unlimited funding of money.
Hmm.
On top of that, I will put that they are working together. I think they've got less bodies and people working in the sports department, so there's less people for things to be combated and go through. But I think it goes without saying, just the massive sources of money. They've been able to pay for stars such as Ronaldo, Neymar, Benzema, various other former European League winners over to their league. They've paid for the biggest names in boxing to headline. They've had WWE stars, WWE having pay-per-view events in Saudi Arabia, the darts, the snooker, also a thing, talk of the F1. Saudi Arabia, on top of massive organization, which I'll go into in a sec, they just have the limited pool of money, so they can continue rolling out these events one after the other. And like I said, another thing I can credit for is the organization, because you may have all the money in the world, but to have the organization, the planning, the preparation to make it all actually happen, to actually deliver. As we know, having money is one thing, but to actually carry out a plan and make it happen from start to end is another thing. So yeah, massive props to the organization and structure, how they're keeping these events on. They work to very strict deadlines, very particular about what they want, and they make sure they get their man every time. You know, last year we seen Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder,
Yeah.
Usyk, AJ all fighting within a couple of months. You know, we once upon a time thought that was impossible to happen, but they've made it happen.
True, they made it happen, and of course, this will also be a huge money fight for both fighters. And for I mean, rumor has it that Anthony Joshua has picked Oleksandr Usyk as his winner for this fight against Tyson Fury. And I'm sure other fighters have picked their winners as well. But on paper, we know that Tyson Fury actually brings a whole lot to the boxing ring. But I'm going to take you back to Mike Tyson. Let's compare boxing back then when you hear the likes of Mike Tyson fighting his opponents compared to what we have today. Do you see a huge gap in the interest in boxing?
Of course, it's different times. You know, they are different people, they are different athletes, they are different individuals, and they've both got to buy it in different ways. Um, in both their times, Tyson in the 80s and 90s, he brought bums to seats. He got people talking about boxing who didn't know much or anything about boxing. People will think of a boxer and they'll think of Mike Tyson because that's the most synonymous name for and going around the sport. Of course, in the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, Tyson Fury has done a similar thing to that. You know, he's got people talking. He's filled out arenas, Wembley Stadium. He's filled out Tottenham Stadium. He's been in heavyweight undisputed title clashes. You know, Tyson Fury has done pretty much every network and platform of boxing you can think of, and he's brought so much attention to it. You see him on TV programs, you see him on adverts, commercials. Um, but I just feel that Mike Tyson just had a completely different aura, just had a completely different, much more powerful star power and draw. You know, Mike Tyson from when he beat Trevor Burke for the world heavyweight title and then just shot up in stardom. I just don't think we'll get many more phenomenals like that. You know, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. Yeah, they've all had their time. They've all been massively popular in the mainstream world. They've all been pay-per-view stars. But Mike Tyson, you know, however many years on later on, 30 odd years later, he's still just a phenomenon that I just don't think can be topped, can be beat. I don't think we'll ever see another like Mike Tyson, you know. Like I said, these guys have done what they can in this generation, this time. They've done a great job. But Mike Tyson, I think that was just a unique point of time.
Right. These two fighters now, what exactly is at stake for both of these fighters? Because 2025 will be a huge year for boxing. Anthony Joshua still wants to get back to the mix. Deontay Wilder is talking as well. What will be at stake for these two heavyweights?
So I can see it on both ways. There's a lot at stake, but then sometimes you can also say there's not really much more at stake. You know, this is probably one of the biggest high-paid gross boxing fights for net purses maybe ever. You know, the Saudis have put out amazing money. Both fighters after this fight, well, they could have probably retired 3 fights ago, both of them, but both fighters after this fight can retire happily ever after and never have to worry about boxing ever again. You know, I think if Tyson Fury loses, maybe one more fight with Anthony Joshua just to say that he's done it, and that's him going off to the sunset. Usyk, he wins this fight. What more is there to what more is there to do? You know, you've beaten all of the top fighters of this generation. You've unified the division. There's not really much left going on to do after that. But on the flip side, if Tyson Fury wins, then yeah, there's always the Anthony Joshua fight out there. There's also the trilogy fight with Usyk then to make it 2-1 whoever wins that one. And if Usyk loses, well, he's beat Joshua. Maybe you could look at Deontay Wilder. Like I said, these fighters are at the point now in their career where, due to finishing the sport, due to completing boxing, there's not really much left to do. There's not really much left to do, you know. Like Usyk wins this fight, who do we want to see Usyk fight next? The Bois rematch again? After the first fight, I don't think we need to see that too much again. The only fight after this, from either side, win or lose, I think it's Joshua versus Tyson Fury. That's the last piece of the heavyweight puzzle that we've just never got, which can go on from here. So at this point, as important as a fight this is, the winner or loser, I still think there's going to be limited options and limited what they can do next because, like I said, they've done it all. And this fight here is a rematch to a fight that we wasn't sure we was going to get in the first place. It caps off the series. It just gives us a nice little outro, and yeah, it's just not massive in their careers at this point. Whoever wins or loses, or what happens next, it's just legacy now.
All right, we look forward to a heavyweight matchup between these two giants, Oleksandr Usyk and Tyson Fury, come Saturday. And of course, by evening, we'll surely let you know who the eventual winner is, or once the story breaks. But of course, we already have our money where our mouth is. And I'll say thank you very much, Rakeem Noble, for joining us today. And we look forward to having you after the fight when the result has been announced. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.